Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Hal Bradley. I would like to ask us, each and every one of you, that if you enjoyed these shows, please hit like, share, and subscribe after you view the show. Thank you very much.
Hello, world, and welcome to another episode of the Crisis Victory Show. I'm Dr. Hal Bradley. I'll be your host today, and my co-host Pete Turner is floating around the background there somewhere. Pete, pop in, say hi.
Hey, everybody.
Well, today we've got a really interesting guest. His name is Frank Somerville, and Frank was about 30 years in the news industry. You were somebody that actually delivered the news to the media, correct, Frank?
Yeah, I was the number one anchor in the Bay Area for 30 years.
Jesus.
And yeah. And
I'd like to go.
The whole time I had a secret. The whole time I had a secret. The whole time I could never enjoy myself. I had the best job in the world, I thought. I mean, it was perfect for me. But I had a secret. I did coke and alcohol. And so I could never enjoy my job. I could never enjoy anything because I was just one big secret. And thankfully now I've been sober and clean for 14 months and I don't have any secrets anymore. That's why I can come on a show like this and say, ask me anything and I will answer, because I look at it as I'm proud of my journey now. It's a part of me. Yes, I did bad things, but they got me here. And being here is a place I never thought I could be. I describe it as climbing a mountain. And in this case, I never get to the top. That's just the nature of this disease. But the higher I get, the better the view. And
how long? Yeah, you've been clean, 14 months, Frank? How long were you an addict? How long were you using?
Well, it was on and off since I was 20. So
it goes back quite a few years.
Yeah, I stopped coke when I was like 25 years ago, but I continued on with alcohol. You know, I became. There were times when I'd stop drinking too, and all I was a dry drunk. And for people who don't know what that means, it means that I'm doing it on my own. I'm not changing myself. I'm just not drinking. So I was the same complete total asshole who I was. I just wasn't drinking. And so now, by going through rehab, I've learned the root causes of why I drank, and I'm dealing with my feelings, with my emotions. I'm being a normal person. In AA lingo, we call them normies, and I'm trying to be a normie, but I'll always take it one day at a time. But I'm back to being like a normal person who doesn't run from his emotions. Yes. He embraces his emotions. He deals with his emotions. He deals with his fears. I interviewed a firefighter once in the Ghost Ship warehouse fire. That was a fire that killed 35 people at a warehouse where there was a dance party.
I remember that story. I remember it well.
So I talked to a firefighter who was inside, and he showed me a picture of one of the bodies, and he saw some really horrible stuff. Yeah. And I wanted to interview him because I was curious how you deal with something like that. And he gave me a great analogy that I still use. And that is, he said, if you don't deal with things, they go in your backpack. Yes. And pretty soon your backpack is stuffed. And your backpack will never empty until you deal with the things that are in the backpack. So my backpack was weighing me down, trying to walk with this huge backpack. And now I'm not weighted down by my backpack anymore because I'm dealing with the things in my backpack. So my God, I've got so much energy excuse the language. I've got so much energy right now. And I'm back to being the real me, the real person before I became polluted by drugs and alcohol.
You know what, Frank? Your energy is clarity, because as you're laying this out and I'm observing you and watching you on screen, I can see the not only the devotion to making this a permanent commitment, but your direction, if you will, of showing others that you can come from something like you have. I mean, you were number one anchor in the Bay Area for many, many years, a very prominent and well-known person in public, and you're not afraid at all to sit there and go, look, folks, I made a fall. This is what happened to me, and I want to share that knowledge with you so we can teach somebody else that may be going through this, that they can get out of it too. And as you know, before the show, I was telling you about my cocaine years and everything involved with the Sinaloa drug cartel. I was a smuggler and later became a trafficker. And I remember people such as yourselves or people that own dental companies that we literally destroyed from cocaine addiction didn't care at all. You know, I watch a lot of people lose everything, families, all of it. So we know
Mhm.
the raw and the strength that cocaine had on people. So to walk away from that form of addiction is exemplary because obviously you made good money. And when you make good money, you can afford to buy more drugs. You know,
Mhm.
therein lies the struggle. And when you said 25 years ago, it was about 30, maybe a little longer than 30 years ago when I did my last line of cocaine. So we are of
Mhm.
era, you know. I
Mhm.
remember smuggling marijuana throughout the 70s. And in 1979, I'm down there packing a car and I get tapped on the shoulder and told we're going to start putting kilos of cocaine in there instead. And that's how we transitioned into the cocaine. And that was 1979. And
Wow.
yeah, I spent 6 years crossing that border. I
Gosh.
moved a lot of dope. And, but you know, what I told you when I went to prison, I started my seminarial studies. And I needed to not only forgive myself for what I'd done, but as Christ had commanded within us all, is to become the example and to show other
Yes.
people that you can move away from a trajectory of
Yeah.
evil and bad lifestyle. And look at you and I today. We can openly talk about that on a show, and we will
Well,
encourage somebody. Frank, your story will encourage somebody.
that's my hope, and that's why I say that I will speak to, if anybody wants me to speak, I will speak. And the reason I do that is that A, I'm a good speaker. That's what I did for a living.
Yeah, of course.
And B, I have a large platform. And I know, I remember when I was at Channel 2, um, I was scared to ask for help. That was the last thing I was going to do, because then I thought I'd have a scarlet letter on,
Yeah,
and people would view me as weak. And
that makes sense in your career.
finally, I was just like firefighters, just like
Yeah,
military vets, just like a lot of people. And I didn't want that stigma.
right.
And now I wear that stigma proudly.
Yeah, it's
And
a flag now. It's something to
yeah,
show.
and,
Yeah, I
and
love that.
I tell everyone, and we just had a debate about this the other day in an AA meeting where I was saying, I don't even like the word anonymous, because the word anonymous implies that I've done something bad and so I have to stay anonymous.
Yeah,
And my thought is, I understand why they do it, but my thought is this is me. I don't want to be anonymous. I want to say
yeah,
this is me. And you know what? You can like me for me, or you can look at me as I have a scarlet letter and you don't trust me anymore. I don't really care. The people who will look at me and go, "Ooh," I'm like, you know, no loss to me. It's your loss. You're missing it. You're missing being friends with a good guy. And
self acceptance is part of the journey. You
right.
know, that's
And
yeah, I
and
love that.
and I think that I think we need to talk more about alcohol and coke and drugs and
Yeah.
addiction. And look what Michael Phelps and Simone Biles did for mental health by
Yes.
speaking out. Simone Biles was freaking crucified
Yeah.
and
Yeah, but
called
look at what she accomplished. My God, what a story, huh? I love that.
exactly. And
Great
and so
example.
by doing that, they give people who have mental health issues but are scared to admit it, hopefully the courage to say, well, Simone Biles did it, so why
Yeah.
can't I? And that's what I try to do with me, is I say, I, I find that a lot of people are just like I used to be. All they do is bitch and moan. Well, I would do it but this happened and then that happened, and I'm like, okay, stop. I don't. I get a lot of bad stuff happen.
Yeah.
So the only question is, what are you going to do about it? And that's where I'm at now. I'm in that action phase. I have a sign on my wall that says dreams die in comfort zones.
Yes.
And I know I spent a hell of a lot of money to stay in my little itty bitty teeny weeny comfort zone. And I had a lot of dreams that I never did. I would always say, well, I'm dreaming about it now, but I'll do it next week.
Yeah.
And we all know next week never comes.
Yeah. Yes.
So one of the things that I'm doing, I'm 68. I'll be 68 next month, and for my birthday, I'm doing something that has terrified me my whole life, and that I've always said I wanted to do, but there's no way.
I'm
So
curious what.
skydiving,
Oh my
skydiving.
God. I was a paratrooper at age 17 in the United States Army.
You were
17. Yep, I
wow.
had silver wings on my chest before I was even 18. So I love it that you're going to go jump out of a plane. it'll be very, very enlightening, if you will, for that experience, and you're going to love it. And at 68, my God, hats off to you, buddy.
Thank you. Well, you know what I figure is that it's now or never.
Yeah.
And I pictured, I visualized it, and I know that I'm going to be terrified the moment before I jump, but I don't focus on that. What I focus on is how great I'm going to feel when I land.
Yeah, and you will.
Because when I land, I'm going to go, yeah, I did it. I did it. I walked through my fear of heights, and that's the kind of thing I'm trying to do. I also, it's incredible. I lived in chaos. My life was so chaotic, and that's all I knew. I grew up with chaos, and that's all I knew. And now it's incredible. I don't have chaos anymore, and I can be consistent because I don't have one or two hands tied behind my back.
Yes.
And I did pretty freaking well with two hands tied behind my back. I always have to wonder, God, I wonder what more I could have done. And so one of the things that I'm trying to find out is I want to push myself to my limit in the gym. I always felt like a skinny kid, and I was never consistent in the gym.
You look healthy for 68. My God,
Well,
I did not put. Yeah, that's beautiful. I didn't put you at that age at all. I thought you were in your maybe real late 50s or early 60s.
Well, one thing is, if you have a Batman tattoo, you gotta have it.
I love it. There you go.
You gotta have a badass shoulder. You
gotta have it.
Can't have a wimpy shoulder. Like, dude, what's with the Batman tattoo? You got a wimpy shoulder.
I love it.
So, but what I'm doing is I'm changing how I perceive myself, and that's the personal transformation. I no longer see myself as a loser. I no longer I'm proud of myself. I respect myself, and it's going to grow even more. And I always felt like a weak, skinny kid growing up. Yeah. And now I can be in the gym, and I actually did a double take looking at myself the other day going, whoa, holy shit. Because I look like I belong in the gym now.
Yeah, you do.
And I love the gym because for me, I just crank up the music and I don't scroll. God, I hate people who scroll when they're working out. It's like, what are you doing? I mean, I'm intense, and I want to find out what I can do. I want to find out how far I can push this body so that I'll actually know. You know, I started a lot of things, but always stopped. So now I never know if I could actually do it. Well, I'm finding out in the gym, yes, I can do it. And then that translates to other things. And now I see myself as not a scrawny kid. I see myself as a guy who looks like he works out. And that's badass to me.
You know something that I was thinking, Frank, even at 68, have you ever considered using the media platform to share this story, to maybe aid and assist others that are struggling with where they're at in life? You're an excellent speaker. Excellent.
Well, thank you.
And you should be using that gift that you've been blessed with to further enhance other people and let them know that here I am, a living example of a man that lived a successful life. I fell into a trap with drug and alcohol addiction, but look at me today. And if I can do it, by God, you can too, type of scenario.
That's the kind of message I want to get across. And so one of the things that I do, I just started TikTok, and I do 1-minute videos on TikTok and Facebook every day, just talking about things. I want to both inspire people who are like me, but also help people who are not like me understand addiction, understand what it's like. I had a discussion with my dad a couple of years ago. We were talking about fentanyl, the fentanyl crisis. And this was his honest reaction. I don't know why they just don't stop. And I thought, that's someone who has absolutely no idea what addiction is like. So I did a post the other day.
Thank God.
Yes. But I did a post the other day where I said, this is the mind of an addict. I had literally 30% of my brain power was caught up thinking about drugs, working to get drugs, getting drugs, coming down off the high and feeling guilty and saying, I'll never do it again.
And concealing all of that.
And then 2 days later going, well, okay, I'm going to do it one more time. This is it. And that was a cycle. And it just kept going and going and going. And so I try to tell people that that's what's going on in my mind. And I also share with how crazy addicts get or alcoholics get. And
Yeah.
the example of that was there was a liquor store near me where I was living before, and I was so depressed and sad, and so I was drinking 2 quarts of vodka a day. And I remember waking up, I mean, first thing in the morning, that was what I'd have. And then just all day long. And
Yeah.
this was after I retired, by the way. And uh, I remember one morning I got up early and I was like, I was craving alcohol because I was out. And I Googled, what time is this liquor store open? And it said
Yeah.
7. So this is the actual conversation I had with myself. Well, if I go at 7 and I'm waiting there for them to open, I'll look like an alcoholic. And I don't want to look like an alcoholic.
Interesting.
So if I
Interesting.
go at 7:20, I can walk in and go, hey, I was just walking by. I didn't realize you guys were open so early. I'm
Yeah.
going to a party tonight, so I might as well get my alcohol now. I mean, how sick is that?
Camouflage.
But that was my mind. That was how my
Yeah.
mind worked. And it no longer works like that. Now I actually am present.
Yes.
And I'm working on I'm facing my fear. That's the biggest thing, is facing your fear. And
That's an excellent statement, because it is a fear. It's every day it's a struggle when you're coming out of a
yeah,
long-term addiction experience and
yeah,
bringing it forth where you're at. And I agree with you on a lot of that, because I remember my years of cocaine addiction where I would be I owned antique stores. I was an international smuggler at the time. I was very well off in life. Everything was going my way, but I had to conceal to the public that I had that I was a smuggler for one, and that I was addicted to cocaine for another. So I get that fear that we self-create as a purpose a purpose, if you will, of camouflaging who we truly are. And then
yeah.
you live with the guilt.
Yep. The guilt, the shame, and
Yeah.
the guilt and shame can lead you to do it more, where you just
Yeah.
go,
Yep.
fuck it. I feel so guilty. I need something to help me. And no, the only thing that helps you is when you do things that make it so that you're not feeling guilty.
Exactly.
And I still do have a hard time. There's only one area where I have a real hard time, and that is forgiving myself for how I treated my family.
Yeah.
And
We all carry some form of forgiveness that we struggle with, brother, that have been
yeah,
every
that's
one of us.
that's a hard one, because I feel like I don't deserve what I have, knowing that my older daughter is still affected by how I treated her.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
brother, she's seeing it today. Trust me on that. She
yeah,
knows the change is coming, and you're doing this self-discipline for her and
yeah.
others that you love. And
I just
I feel your pain, brother. I do.
yeah, I just have to keep my side of the street clean,
Yeah.
and I can't control her, but I do have hope that at some point she'll come back into the fold, and she's starting to.
Yeah.
And
Amen.
same with my other daughter. And so that's the best I can do. I can't do any more than that. I have to. Words don't matter anymore.
No.
I told them so many times, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I won't do this, and then I let them down. But now it's action, and they can see, and they know that it's real.
Well,
And
Jesus said, "Be the example. Be
yeah,
the example." So we have to
that
go forth and show them that we're not just saying these things like you were just discussing there.
yeah.
We're showing them that we're doing these things instead.
I also, when I
Good
speak,
for you.
I was speaking the other day, and this guy there says, I'm going to try not to drink for the next 24 hours. And I went, whoa, whoa, whoa,
Yeah.
whoa, whoa. When you say you're going to try, that
Yeah.
leaves open the
Yeah.
fact that you might not do it. I want to hear you say, I am not going to drink. I believe language matters. And
Damn right it does.
also, I know that with me, I spent my life just beating myself up.
Yeah.
And I everything was a race, was a challenge. It was like I had something to prove.
Yeah.
And now I don't. Now it's as simple as with crossword puzzles. I not crossword puzzles, but spelling bees. I've noticed this. I love doing spelling bees, and when
Uh-huh.
I don't get it right, when I don't do well, I'm like, damn it! Oh, gotta get better at this. And then I finally the other day said, dude, chill out. It's a spelling bee, and
Yeah.
and you're not going to do great every single time, just like a baseball player doesn't hit a single every single time. And
Exactly.
that's okay. And so I'm telling myself it's okay. I don't have to be perfect. That's what I always thought I needed to get love from my parents.
You know,
And
Frank, you have another thing to put in play too. You're now 68 years old. You're not 38 years old. You have wisdom of years of life,
yeah,
and you have been exposed to so many different things as a result of the years that you've been blessed to live, that
yeah,
you take a different cognitive approach to what you're dealing with, because you see the mature and the logistics of where you're going today as a result. You know, you're going to get your daughter back in
yeah,
100%. These things are going to happen, brother, because you're making them happen. You're not sitting
right.
there dwelling on it. You're doing something about it. And
Uh,
that's exactly what we all need to do when we're stepping out of our horrible pasts that we've
mhm,
all messed up in. I don't know of a human on the planet that's without sin. I
right.
promise you.
Well,
But
well, one of the things I try to do too is I'm not afraid to show emotion,
yeah,
and
good for
I
you.
I show emotion in the pieces I do, and
Yeah.
the objective of that is one, it's just real emotion, but I also have in the back of my mind, I hope this shows men that it's okay to cry,
Okay.
that it
It
is
does.
okay to feel, that it is not weak, that it's okay to ask for help. That is not weak, that is strength. Crying is
Absolutely. I
strength.
agree. I
Holding it
agree.
all in is what I used to do, and it all went in my backpack. And so I remember when I was at Duffy's, that was the rehab place I went to in Calistoga for 75 days. And I swear I must have set a record for crying up there. I mean, I couldn't speak without bawling my eyes out because I had so much emotion packed inside me. But I had several guys come up and say to me privately, I wish I could cry like you.
Yeah.
And I would just say,
Yeah.
well, then do it. And but they're so programmed not to do that. And that goes back to my dad. My dad was the kind who always told me I was too sensitive. I mean, who says that? And he we never talked. I mean, I've still never had a honest, real conversation with my dad. Never.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's ever going to happen because he doesn't talk. He doesn't talk about real things. When my mom died, I never got a chance to actually grieve with my dad, because
Yes.
he didn't want to go there. He couldn't. It was too hard. And I know I get that.
Yeah.
And
That
and
was his self-coping mechanism. That's how
yes,
he had to deal with it.
and I'll tell you what one of the tests that I had early on was my roommate, not my roommate, my desk mate at Duffy's for 45 days.
Yeah.
Um, he relapsed and he was in the hospital. He was in really bad shape. And I
Yeah.
went and saw him in the hospital. And I asked the doctor, and the doctor said, we think he's going to be okay. Well, a week later, he died. And it was the first death that I've had since I've been sober.
Yes.
And I I remember that would be a perfect opportunity for me to go drown my sorrows in alcohol. But
Yeah.
instead, I allowed myself to feel. I allowed myself to grieve. And so Steve's death didn't go in my backpack. In a sense, Steve's death proved to me that I don't need alcohol to deal with things that are difficult. And
Yes.
and that was such a huge eye opener. I thought, if I can do that with Steve, hell, I can do that. I could do that with anything.
And you know what, Frank? Right now, you're sharing that on a show that'll be seen by all kinds of people. They're going to hear that comment, and we can all relate to it. And I want to
Yeah.
cut in for 1 second. I want to share something with you when you're talking about emotion and how sometimes we wonder how it's observed. When Manny and I were rescued, we were both put in separate helicopters when they came in and extracted us from being prisoners. And I remember as I was put in the helicopter I was in, the medic that was taking care of me was trying to ask me calm questions, and all I could do was cry. I couldn't form words. I couldn't say anything because I was in such a state of shock that I wasn't dead, that I was actually in a rescue moment. And like I remember her leaning and asking me, "Are you okay here? And do you feel this here?" And because I was beat up, she was checking my body, and I just looked at her, and all I could do was cry. I couldn't answer a single question. So when I
Wow.
watched your emotion a few minutes ago on my show here, I could really relate to that because sometimes we go back, and I have advanced PTSD as a result of captivity. So does Pete Turner. He was a spy in Afghanistan. We both have lived outside the wire, and every day we fight these demons. Well, I saw your demon poke its head up for a moment there, but I saw you suppress it, Frank. You suppressed it, and you did it in such a great, natural way. And I'm really proud of you, man, because I know it's like to have people look. When I was in the cartels and stuff, my whole family disowned me. I grew up in a real decent family, and nobody could believe it. And my brother went 20 years without even speaking to me. He just couldn't do it. And but we gain it back, we recover it because we become an example by the efforts we're putting forward, that those that love us, they see it and they start recognizing after a few years into it or whatever. Every time is different, but at some point they recognize that this is real. And that's what go ahead.
Can I ask you a question? How
Yes,
did you or are you dealing with the things that you've gone through and the things that you've done? How do you deal with that? And how do you deal with PTSD?
Well, 2 years ago, a very dear friend of mine, former Green Beret, he was also a POW. Back in 2003, all 7 of us at the Seattle VA were recognized for being captured on foreign soil in the service of our country. Every one of us carry a hell that never, ever leaves us. I'm the last one out of the 7 of us alive today. They're all gone. And half of them took their own lives. 14 months ago, I was walking down the hall to take my life. I was done with it because I just get so freaked out waking up in that jungle. And this is 2 decades later, Frank. But the way I dealt with it was in that walk, I grabbed my cell phone and I punched in the veterans hotline for suicide. And that's what saved my life. And they worked with me for a few months, and now I'm okay. I'm good to go. And that's the only time in my life I ever wanted to commit suicide. I just got tired of waking up in my bed screaming that and being in the jungle, wiping the body parts off my chest and the side of my face of my guy that was coming there to blow me and Manny away. And we watch him disintegrate in front of us. And these are just that, and the years I spent in the cartel, brother, that go back 40 years, the things I witnessed, the things I saw being done to people. I still can't talk about it. I still can't. And that's not hiding it from me. I accept it, but I try to focus on something that gives me more of a positive direction than to focus on the things that I cannot change, which is something they say in Alcoholics Anonymous. They talk about.
Okay. So on that line, let me ask you a question. You say there's some things you still can't talk about.
Yeah.
Do you feel there were a lot of things I felt like I was a slave to my past. And the only way I could not be a slave to my past is to deal with my past, to talk about my past. Do you, I mean, I don't know, I'm not in your situation, but do you think at some point talking about the things you saw would be helpful?
Well, Frank, let me put it this way. Some things, jurisdiction-wise, time never runs out. And, you climb a ladder and you go through a different life when you're in a cartel like that. You have to do things. And that's things that you have to do to survive within the environment you find yourself in. So I don't talk about it for a multitude of different reasons. But yeah, I some of the horrific things that I bear witness to, or may or may not have allegedly been involved in doing myself. Those things, you just have to find a certain kind of a peace within yourself. And some of that, brother, isn't to be shared. It isn't. That's between you and God. You'll meet your maker someday and you can deal with it. And that's a platform where I put those kind of memories in my life. But Pete and I both have advanced PTSD, like I was saying, and we both are plugged into the VA. They treat us very well. They know what to do with us. They have a lot of experience with working with guys that worked on classified missions, things to this nature where we are compelled and trained to never, ever discuss. It wasn't until a couple of years ago that I even told anybody about my captivity down there, because when I was medevaced out of El Salvador and dropped off at the embassy in Mexico City, the State Department told me this never happened. Don't say an effing word about it or we'll throw you in prison for 5 years. And the end of story. They made it go away. But that's that life. And I chose that life when I decided not to break the law and be a drug dealer anymore. When they approached me at Leavenworth and got me out of there and made me a contractor, I spent 17 years, instead of saying, I'm sorry, Frank, I spent 17 years proving I'm sorry.
God, that's great. I love that.
Use it.
I'm going to use that one.
Yeah.
Because Wait,
It's
say
true.
it again. Say it
I
again.
just said that instead of saying I'm sorry, I showed that I was sorry. I proved it.
Okay, hold
I
on.
proved it by example, brother. So instead of saying I'm sorry, uh, I decided to go out there and show you that I'm sorry. And this was life and death. Being undercover in these foreign countries that I operated out of, if I ever got blown, which is how I got captured, which is also how I got kidnapped, cover got blown. And at that point, that 17-year-old boy that had his paratrooper wings on his chest goes back to his time in Tigerland, Fort Polk, Louisiana, 1972, when we went through our prisoner of war camp training and what we were trained to do. Because the moment you break, the moment you give information, you're no longer worth keeping alive, and you're killed. And that, what I learned at the age of 17, coming into my life in my 50s, I'm 72 this year, so that'll give you the time frame. And I was captured in 2003. But I remembered what I learned as a younger person, and that's what saved me. I'm positive. But see, my cover wasn't blown; it was Manny's cover, because Manny worked for the Salvadorian intelligence agency down in that country. And when we went up north to insert ourselves into the MS-13 hierarchy, I was in Leavenworth with an MS-13 guy, and he sent my address and information down to his family. Well, somewhere along the gravy train of getting that down to El Salvador, someone in the intelligence field was able to get my name and that information. So when I was coming off an operation in Mexico, I was coming out of the embassy in Mexico City, and I got approached by two Salvadorian intelligence agents, and they offered me a $75,000 3-day contract. Hell, why not? I've been doing this forever, and got down there. But when we walked into the meeting, they recognized Manny. But Manny and I had it prepped that in the event that happened, that I was to act, because I was a convict. I was out of Leavenworth. This guy knew me from Leavenworth, and we could sit there like I was just as fooled as all of you were. And that's how we did it. And Manny was treated a lot worse.
My God, there's a movie, I think it's with Tom Cruise, where he starts flying drugs. He gets into that whole world.
Air America.
And in the end,
yeah,
and in the end he gets killed. But
that was Barry Seal, the movie about Barry Seal's life.
Yeah, your story to me is just as interesting.
Oh yeah, we were all around. Everyone, those were the years 70s and 80s into the early 90s. I walked in 1993. So yeah, you're right.
I'd love to. I think your story would be a freaking phenomenal movie, and because
people hook you up at the drhalbradley.com, take you right to the book source, brother, and it gives a short bio. And I'm always interested in sharing it, because I've got everything documented. I have folders packed full of everything, pictures of me with El Chapo that go back 42 years. And I mean, everything. I have it all. So and there it is, Dr. Hal Bradley. No, you did it wrong, Pete. You put 2 L's in there. It's only one. Hal. I love Pete.
I am just blown away by your story.
I'm blown away by yours, Frank, because I see the victor in you, and this is what my show is about. You're not ashamed to sit there and say that this is what you did to your life. You instead are turning it around and saying, I'm not going to say I'm sorry. I'm going to show you I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And that's winners. That's the winners.
I always live by this quote from Matthew Perry's book. He was the one who he was on Friends and died from ketamine. And he wrote, there's one line that just really stuck out to me. It was, I've done a lot of bad things, but I'm not a bad person.
I remember the line. I remember that.
Yes. And I look at, when I speak to groups, I always use that line. And I say, as I look at all of you, just like me, have done bad stuff. Yes. But that doesn't make you a bad person.
No.
And that really helped me, because down inside, I'm not a bad person. And in fact, one of the ways I describe
not at all
my life is that every time I did coke and alcohol, a barnacle would attach to my body. And pretty soon I was covered in barnacles. I was unrecognizable. And so now what I'm doing in recovery is ripping those barnacles off. And I'm going back to the way I was when I was a kid. I love colors.
I love that.
And I I'm emotional, not afraid to show emotions.
Yeah,
You know,
good,
and
good.
I just feel free. And I never ever thought I could feel like this. It was just, that's for someone else. That's not me. And I feel happy now. Not the happiest, but I feel happy. And that was something I just given up on a long time ago. Just thinking, you know, I was thinking about this in the car last night. I was never able to be happy on my own, but what I did was, what made me happy was telling people stories and writing about other people who were doing positive things, and that made me happy.
I
Or
love it.
making a difference, that made me happy. But I could never just be happy on my own, because I didn't love myself. I didn't respect myself. I didn't admire myself. I just felt like shit. And
Well, you
down
know what,
inside,
Frank? As we're getting ready to wrap up here, I want to tell you something that I don't want it to be missed by this audience. The entire time that you've been on my show, I've been watching your neurolinguistics, how you express yourself, your honesty, your sincerity, the things that come with people that are true victors, that are champions in life. Everybody falls, brother. Everybody
yeah,
has that moment. It's how we pick ourselves up that defines us. And you've
bingo.
done that. You've done it so well. And I'm so honored to have had you on my show today, and
Ah,
I thank
uh,
you for it. I do.
oh,
I feel
it's
good walking away from this show today. I mean, you got
yeah.
me energized, brother.
Well, you know what? Sometimes I find myself, it's like I always have this invisible beat in my head. I'm
Yes.
going like this. And I think people, like at the gym, I'm playing. So I grew up with a lot of R&B and soul, and because it had a beat,
Oh yeah,
it had a better beat than white music.
yeah, yeah. You're
And
68 years old. I know exactly what you grew up with.
yeah, oh, Temptations,
Yeah.
OJ's,
We
Tower
love
Power,
Motown sound.
Motown. But
Yeah.
now what I find is that beat isn't fast enough for me anymore. So now I listen
Interesting.
to electronic music where it's boom, boom,
Interesting.
boom,
Yeah.
boom. And I'd listen to that at the gym. It amps me up. And I feel like I've always got that beat. I'm just kind of going like this all the time. And
I love it.
I actually found myself the other day. I listened to music in the shower, and I was dancing in the shower. And I thought, how badass is this? I'm 68
It's
years old
cool.
and I'm
Yeah.
dancing in my freaking shower. Yeah, who would have thought?
I love it, Frank. Great way to wrap up the show. Brother, God bless you on your journey. You've got this, man. You've got it. And
Uh,
whatever you do, Frank, don't hold it in. Share your success so somebody else can not only benefit from it, but become it.
Absolutely. Yes, that's what I'm talking about right there.
I
And
loved meeting you today, brother.
oh, so did I. This was fantastic, Doctor. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
You're more than welcome, and thank you for coming. We'll see each other again, I have a feeling.
I hope so.
Okay, folks. Well, that wraps up another episode today. And I'd like to take this moment to thank each and every one of you for taking your time to catch our show. Now, if you like these shows, I would ask that you would please hit like, share, and subscribe. It's so important to us that we get these messages out, and we understand that these are graphic, almost toxic interviews. But, you know, this is the kind of impact that we feel is needed in order to make sure that people understand the significance of the problems that we are confronted within our own country and around the globe. So I'm going to say at this time that I love you all. God bless you all. Hasta luego, y vaya con Dios, and go Victors.